Yeah, and hello, one and all.
What's
Welcome,
up? What's
welcome
up?
back to Starlight Beacon, the show where we guide you through that galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Coop, here with my co-host today, JBM. How you doing today, sir?
Yo, what's up?
Good
Doing
to see you.
well. How
Good to
are
see you
you?
back in the tower. Oh, I'm doing good, man. Doing good, doing real good.
Yeah, my quarters are under construction, as you can see. I'm working on my layout.
Yeah, he's on a covert op. You know what I'm saying? He's undercover. You got to blend in. I think he's
Yeah,
somewhere. I don't know what planet he's on. Can't disclose the planet location.
yeah. Going under the alias of remote worker from home.
Yeah, Rebel Intelligence.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Kalisto, what's going on? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome.
Hey,
I'm
hey.
doing good. I'm doing good. It's been it's Wednesday. It's already Wednesday, man. Week's been flying by.
It has been.
Uh, been everything's moving fast paced, but as always, looking forward to doing this show because
Yeah, it's good to chop it up. A little Star Wars talk.
yeah, I'm getting hyped for the Mandalorian season 2. Did you see that teaser trailer that they dropped yesterday?
I didn't actually watch it, but I did see
You didn't miss anything.
advertisements for it.
You
Had a
didn't miss
feeling.
anything.
My intuition
Nah,
told me it was like, nah.
yeah, it was the week, bro. I've been complaining about it silently for 24 hours now. I feel like because I'm like, wait a second, how do you drop a full length? Like you drop a full length trailer, minute 30 seconds, and then you drop a 30-second teaser trailer after it?
That's back.
Like, what is like? I don't understand that. Like that makes no sense to me. Like I was kind of hyped to see it because I was like, oh shoot, they dropped the trailer, and then when I went to YouTube and clicked on it, I was like, yo, this is 30 seconds. I was like, what is I thought it was
So
another TV spot. And I watched it and I'm like, man, this is a teaser trailer. Like, this is so backwards. Like, you've already dropped a full length trailer, which wasn't a story trailer, just a bunch of like new
right,
footage and like some
like a highlight reel of B-roll.
yeah, it was like so I mean they show new footage in that 1 minute 30-second trailer they dropped like a few weeks ago. But like all the narration was from the previous season. So we got no new story, elements. And this one is the same format. Like it's still it's got some new footage, of course, but it's also it's full of new footage, but no, it's half new and half old. There's some old footage from last season that transitions into footage from this season, and it's also got Moff Gideon doing the voiceover about the child, about him wanting the child, and I'm like, okay, so once again, we still don't get any new story developments. So whatever, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, oh, thanks, Kalisto. Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back. I feel like that teaser trailer would have worked if they did like some type of like character reveal, like a 30-second like
yeah,
confirming Ahsoka or something, and we just get hype about it.
yeah, that would be cool. It's too early. I really don't want. Oh God, I wouldn't want them to do. I want a trailer first before they do any like character type trailers. You know what I'm saying?
Like
Like,
a legit trailer.
yeah, give me a story trailer first, and then you can tease. Then you can tease me with some characters, and like do it the week before. So give me a new character trailer every day that week the show's gonna come out.
Every day.
Yeah,
Back to back to back.
one new character, like a 15-second trailer for the characters that kind of give me some indication of what they're going to be doing in this upcoming season.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this what was this episode 4?
So this is our fourth episode of technically, yeah, this is our fourth episode of the show, and today we're going to do two episodes. We're going to do episodes 4 and 5, the Sanctuary and the Gunslinger. We're going to combine these episodes that way we can make it. We can finish this first season before October 30th. We'll also be combining episodes 7 and 8 and 9, 7 and 8.
One of those.
Yeah, 7 and 8 because it's only 8 episodes. And then we'll have like some speculation too, because that will be the Wednesday before the show drops. So we'll cover those 2 episodes and then get into some speculation about what we want to see in the season 2. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into episode 4, The Sanctuary, sir. So we got it's the opening shot is the Mandalorian is being pursued out in space in the Razor Crest.
That's episode 5.
Is that episode 5? That's
Yeah.
the one that's fresh on my mind. How do we begin episode 4?
So episode 4, we open up on a village of diverse.
That's right.
people. Yeah, on a planet.
That's
What's
right.
the name of that planet? Do you know?
Nope. Give me a second. I can look it up though.
Cool. But yeah, it seems like it's a settler village, and I noticed straight away, like, yo, everybody in this village is like from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's super diverse. They look like they're farmers, and then like a minute in, they start to get attacked by the Clatunians.
Yeah, the
Clatunians. I can't say it right.
the Georgetown Hoyas.
Sure.
They look like bulldogs, bro.
They do a little bit. Yeah, bulldogs. Yeah, that's how it opens up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they attack the village. The mother, she goes back for her daughter, and they hide under a basket that they put over their heads in the water.
Yep, the wicker basket.
Yeah, the wicker basket. Shout out to Nicolas Cage.
What? I missed that reference.
Yeah, he was in a movie called The Wicker Man or something like that. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Layers.
Oh my god, sure.
Yeah, but that's how it opens. They kind of evade the attack.
Yeah.
Come up and see the destruction of the village, and it cuts to where Mando is.
Yeah, so this whole episode is a Seven Samurai Magnificent Seven mashup, like Star Wars edition. And instead of like, your 7 heroes, you just got Cara Dune and the Mandalorian, and then of course the child. And so we get this is our first episode where we get an introduction into Cara Dune. This is really her episode. This is as far as a character. As far as this, we are introduced to her. We get a little bit of her backstory, what she's about. The Mandalorian arrives on this planet I guess maybe a day after the attack. I don't know how much time passes, but he flies over the village, and they see him come into town. He lands in some settlement. He also before he lands, he makes a comment to the child that there's no spaceport, there's no no technology. Basically, a great. He's basically saying this is a great place to lie low and hide. Like no one should be able to find us. Foreshadowing. So they land kind of sort of away from the settlement. And he tells the child, all right, stay here. I'm going to go scope things out, try to find a place for us to lay low, stay on the ship, wait for me. Goes down. He opens the door, the hatch on the back of the ship. And lo and behold, the child is right there by his foot. And then they go into the settlement, and there's a cantina, and there's all types of figures inside. They sit down. The bartender waitress comes over and asks, what they want to eat or drink. And Mandalorian orders the child some soup. And I think she asks him if he wants anything. He's no, but tell me about that person sitting over there in the corner. And then camera cuts, and we see Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, laying low in the corner, distancing herself from everyone. Like there's no one around her. She's just kind of seems like she was scoping him out, and he was scoping her out. So Rachel doesn't seem to know anything about her, and then the Mandalorian slides her some more credits and like, are you sure you don't know anything? But she doesn't reveal anymore. She takes the credits and brings them back to food. And I believe that's when Cara Dune walks out of the the restaurant, the cantina, and the Mandalorian follows her. He loses her. Then I believe he turns on his heat sensor in his visor, and you can see her footprints, which is cool.
Yeah,
Cool little bounty hunter.
Functional helmet. That's pretty
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. That helmet seems to be able to do a lot. And so that overall, the technology for the Mandalorians that they use, as far as what they're able to do and how they equip themselves before battle, seems to be enables them to operate really independently. They don't need to be in large groups of numbers. Like they seem to be able to hold their own, which is also a cool aspect of the Mandalorians.
Yeah, yeah.
But then they get into a fist fight outside. She ambushes them. They get into a tussle, which ends in a draw. Them pointing blasters at each other on the ground, and Baby Yoda sitting off to the side sipping a soup, which to me was was hilarious.
Yeah.
Then that kind of sort of, I guess that really breaks the ice.
Yeah, that's one hell of an icebreaker.
Yeah. So
how did you feel about the fight scene?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I thought it showed, because Gina Carano she's a former MMA fighter, so she got to show off her skills as a fighter, which is cool because she does all.
That's cool that they got an actual fighter to play.
Yeah. She's a former MMA fighter. I think she's won a few championships too before she retired. Yeah. I think she's a pioneer. I want to say she's one of the first female champions in the MMA. So
okay,
I want to say, maybe I might be mistaken, but I know she's one of the legends in the sport. So it's cool to see her in this role, and
that is cool. That makes me like that character even more now.
Yeah, and she also, I'm pretty sure she lobbied to Jon Favreau because they wanted to have like stunt doubles for her, and she was like, no, I can do all the fight scenes, like I can handle it, like, so it's cool to see her take on that level of care for the character, her wanting to get in that, like, just completely immersed into it. So definitely points for her for that. And it makes it just feel more authentic and more real to me. For her character as a shock trooper, she should be able to fight, hold her own.
Somebody's ass,
yeah. So, and she shows it. So I mean, I thought I think that's what that fight really was about, to show that she really means business. And so for that matter, I like the fight.
Yeah, I feel like I could see the choreography in the fight. So I wasn't too impressed with the fight, but I see what it was for, so I'll settle for it.
Yeah. I think hopefully season 2 we'll see some more. I think we will. I think we will definitely see some more, and she's probably had a lot more input into the fight scenes as well. Now that she's for season 2, I would hope that they would let her have more control over the choreography. And then whoever
being a fighter, professional fighter.
Yeah, and then the stunt coordinators, because I don't think they were anticipating that she would volunteer herself to be as involved in the fighting as she was. Because I want to say that she did everything. Like, she pulled a Bruce Lee, and so like or Jackie Chan, and did all her fighting scenes and their stunts. So that's always dope. But yeah, so now they go back to the cantina. They made peace with each other. I would say the Mandalorian probably bought her a drink, and they're now talking. She's telling him about, I'm an ex rebel shock trooper, but she seems to be a deserter. She didn't agree with the peacetime politics. She's talking about how they became more of like a security force instead of like soldiers, and she wasn't down with that. Like, she's like, I joined the fight.
Yeah, she's not with the police state.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? She's like, I'm not with all this. Like, I want to go out. I want to be on the front lines and fighting. So this is not what I signed up for. So she kind of, I think I want to say she went AWOL because she says that they're looking for her, and she thought that they sent the Mandalorian after her, which would be wild. Like if you're on the run and like the first bounty hunter you encounter is a armored Mandalorian, like yeah, I would definitely be on edge.
Yeah.
Like the odds of her running into a Mandalorian on that planet are astronomically low. So I kind of understand her suspicion. And then she makes a comment that, oh, well, I was here first. This is my planet, so y'all got to go find somewhere else. And I'm like, damn, it's the whole planet. Like, you can't go on another hemisphere.
Wow.
Like, right? Like, you gotta vacate the whole planet. Like, dang. I'm like, but yeah, I guess Star Wars. They're about.
Yeah, she was feeling herself on that one.
She wasn't she?
The whole planet. It's mine.
The planet is called Sorgon.
Sorgon. I like that name.
Yeah, that really sounds like a character name.
Yeah.
More than the planet. But yeah, so that happens. Mandalorian seems to agree with, she's called this planet. We gotta pack up and leave. So he takes the child back to the Razor Crest. And as he's packing up, he's approached by a group of villagers from the village that was attacked in the opening scene. And they try to pay for his services as a mercenary to come and protect them because they recognize his armor and that he's a Mandalorian and that they heard stories about his people. And he looks at him and goes like, yeah, that ain't enough money. I'm out. He throws it back to him. And then this is where it really turns into like a Seven Samurai Magnificent Seven type of vibe. Like, straight from the pages, just the Star Wars edition. These poor farmers don't have enough money to buy the protection, but then the protectors that they're trying to hire are in a desperate situation, and they really, at the end of the day, need somewhere to hide and lay low. This village seems to be able to provide that for them. So the Mandalorian agrees, as long as they allow him shelter and a place to live. Like if he can live with them, then he would agree to come with them. But then he also asked for the payment that they were offering him, and he takes that and gives it to Cara Dune. Like he finds her wherever she's hiding, and drops the bag of credits on her and says, come on, we got a job to do. So they all three, the Mandalorian, the Cara Dune, and the child, all head off to this village. They meet the villagers. We get some more backstory into the Mandalorian and how long he's had his helmet on. We meet this widow and her daughter. And
the widow
they seem to
like the most skilled of the whole village, which is cool.
Yeah, like she's the only one that has weapons training, like, and that kind of threw me off because I was like, wait a second. I just wasn't anticipating that. And she was nice with the blaster too. Like she was knocking the targets down. But yeah, so they seem to form a bond, her and the Mandalorian. She asked him when was the last time he took his helmet off, and he says yesterday. And then she says, all right, no, I mean like in front of someone. And he was like, what'd you say?
So she was trying to get a good look at that face.
She was trying. She was like, that became her mission.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna get this helmet off. He's nah. Oh man. Then he says that the last time he took his helmet off, he was about her daughter's age, which is basically when he was indoctrinated into the culture. That's when the Death Watch came and saved him from the separatist forces. So that was really cool. And that's something I'm once again curious about, because I think I talked about this on the last episode. this group of Mandalorians in the concave on Navarro, where the Mandalorian is from, they're known as the Tribe, which I'm thinking that this is a group of Mandalorians. They just call it the Tribe, like Tribe Called Quest. Did you say Tribe Called Quest?
I said, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're just known as the Tribe. And I think that this particular group of Mandalorians are a devout group of Mandalorians to an old, ancient Mandalorian way. That probably dates back to the time of Mandalore the First, because the only reason I say that is because the armorer scene, she references the Mandalorian or Mandalore the First, and without name dropping the conflict, but she does manage. She talks about the Mandalorian Wars, which in the extended universe takes place like in the Old Republic. It's like, I would say about 5,000 years before Episode 4 are the Mandalorian Wars when this happens. But it's the first conflict between the Mandalorians and the Jedi, and it's what leads to Revan's fall to the dark side. It's a really cool story, and we've never seen this story on screen, and I really hope that they bring it back into the new canon, because I don't want to see a Revan story from KOTOR. Like, I don't want to see that story retold. I would much rather see the Mandalorian Wars and see Revan fall to the dark side and become a Sith Lord. I'd much rather see that story, because we hadn't seen that other than some comics from the old canon. So that would be a cool thing, because this is like the first divisive conflict that the Republic and the Jedi face. But once again, I don't know how Disney is planning to set up the Old Republic era of Star Wars. We know they've introduced the High Republic, which is about 200 years before Episode 1. And so, this conflict would probably be a couple hundred years before that, if it's a real thing. And she does mention that, there was a war at some point in time between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. So
yeah,
at least the conflict is made canon. We'll see if we can get a series on that on Disney Plus at some point in the future, because I would love to see that. But anyway, since I've derailed, had to go lore dive right there.
Yeah, Lord God had to speak on it.
Had to.
Yeah, so they're back at the village now, and they've trained the entire village on how to defend themselves from the Klatooinians. Yep. I'm just say Klatooinians. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, we'll rock with it. Let me see. We'll rock with it.
Yeah. So
yeah, Klatooinian. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Right. Based on the spelling, I would say that's how it was pronounced.
So yeah, right after they train the village, and the Mando and I keep forgetting her name.
Kara.
Yeah, Kara. They sneak into an encampment of the Klatooinians, and they're drinking something.
Yeah, they're making some sort of elixir or something.
Yeah, some moonshine.
Something I definitely wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't drink it, whatever it was.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
I have no idea what it is. It might be what they eat, bro. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what that was.
They had containers full of it too.
Yeah, it was a lot of
it. Almost like a brewery. Like, they were like just brewing
something.
We'll call it some beer. Fluorescent beer.
Bro, it seemed like the consistency was like it was really like thick, like like goo, like you eat that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you knew.
I have no idea. Yeah, no, I have no idea what that is.
All right. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and then they get into a fight into this in that tent where they discover this strange elixir, and their plan is to create a distraction and blow up the tent. And when they do
I didn't understand the distraction though, like, because they put the bomb in the tent, they remained in the tent, and then their distraction was to bring the people in the tent while they were still in the tent.
Yeah, or was that by? Did they just miss the?
Like
Um,
Kara, she whistled. She made like a bird
she made a
whistle.
noise to
Yeah, to
to
lure
draw
them
them in.
inside. I guess their plan was to lure them in, knock them out, and then leave.
I
While
guess.
the bomb was like already active, so I didn't
Yeah,
quite understand that angle.
yeah. I don't either. Now that I think about it, maybe someone in the comments does. But
Yeah, if y'all saw something we didn't, go ahead and mention that in the comments so we
yeah,
can clear
I
that
missed the
up.
whole plan and strategy behind that. But it whatever happens, and they end up outside the tent and they're fleeing, and then they see these red glowing eyes at near the treetops,
That was my
and
favorite
then
part of of that episode.
yeah, and then we see that they've got a AT-AT or an AT-AT. Oh no, ATST. Excuse me, it's not an AT-AT. It's ATST. Chicken Walker.
Chicken Walker, yeah, with the red eyes. That was cool. That
Yeah,
was really cool.
yeah. So they pimped it out. They got the red light interior now.
Hmm.
This is definitely not Imperial standard edition.
Yeah, that's against corporate regulations
Yeah, it's
right
definitely
there.
against regulations. I'll definitely get them a court martial. They were in the Empire.
Yeah,
uh
they were running from that in the woods, and they were shooting, firing at them.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a cool little scene.
yeah. So it doesn't leave the base, it just chases them off, and they make it back to the village, and they're like, yo, y'all ain't tell us about this ATST. Like, we were on board with this whole thing. Like, you should have told us. Like, that changes the whole dynamic of this little deal we got going, because y'all didn't
Yeah.
tell us the full truth. Like, it was
Then they
like, we
get
can't fight
ready.
this ATST.
Yeah, they get ready right then and there, right?
Yeah, I think so I think that happens, and then they agree to train. That's when they agree to train the villagers. I think they went to go scope out the base. Yeah, that's what
Oh,
happened. They went to go
is that what
scope it
happened?
out to see. I think they were trying to get an idea of how many troops were or raiders were in that encampment. Um, and then that's when they discovered the ATST. I believe that's what happened. I think it was by chance, because I don't believe the villagers told them that it was there.
Okay.
So now that that's revealed, they then proceed to train the villagers. They get them combat ready. That's when we discover um, the potential love interest has quality aim. She knows the way around the blaster for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get ready for the big battle, which happens. It's a night invasion. The Clatoonians invade. They use a lot of World War I trench warfare tactics. They've got like they got barricades up. Um,
Yeah.
they've dug some trenches and filled them with water. Some of those are the farms. I think they've kind of sort of repurposed the space shrimp or krill, or whatever the space krill, that whatever the villagers were farming. They've repurposed those little
Mm.
farms into pits, and they're going to try to lure the ATST into that to topple it, so it loses
Mm-hmm.
its balance and falls over. So we get that. That's part of the play. The Clatoonians come in first. The infantry, they're met with resistance from the villagers. They've got the barricades up so that it breaks up some of the numbers of the Clatoonians. They can't go in for a direct attack. They got to split up and kind of work their way around these barricades, which gives the villagers some advantage. And then the ATSTs pull up, or the ATST pulls up and changes the
Mm-hmm.
whole dynamic of the
Big
battle.
dog. Yeah, that was a showstopper.
Oh yeah. And Kara and the Mandalorian move up to get a better shot at it. And I believe I think they're behind a barricade at first.
Yeah, but like
And
barbed wire barricade.
yeah, some sort of barrier, some sort of wall, and they're firing over the top, but they're not close enough. And she's like, "Give me." She runs up. Does she get? I think that she gets the pulse rifle first, right?
Yeah.
and then she jumps into the one of the pits, and then starts shooting at the ATST from the pit. Let's go to the comments real quick. Just watch the scene you guys were talking about. She was the Mando's attention. Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. So she wasn't trying to draw their attention. She was just trying to get the Mando's attention. That makes sense.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that, Callisto.
Yeah.
Callisto. Saying his name wrong.
OG Coop, what's going on? Good to see you, sir.
What's up?
Dorian, what's going on?
Dorian.
Yeah. Anyway. So now Cara Dune is in the trench and she is firing at the AATSC with the pulse rifle, which seems to be holding up pretty well against that deadly weapon, which seems to incinerate everything that it hits. I like that rifle. I want that rifle in a video game. Like, they need to put that in the next Battlefront, because that thing, it's OP. Like, especially if it's a sniper, they could nerf it a little bit, but like, I like that disintegration effect. But that's beyond the point. So she's firing
the MK rifle mod that we see in the next episode. That's pretty much kind of leaning in what you're talking about.
That's true,
right?
but that's like the standard. That's like the standard sniper I think that they use in Battlefront. But hers is modified, to your point, and it shoots at a longer range and is more deadly at range than the one in the game. But I digress. So we get to she's firing. She's trying to get the walker to walk into the pit. And it can't get a good shot on her because of the angle she's at behind in the pit that she's in. So it begins to move up, but then the pilot notices that the pit is in front of him, and it stops and hesitates. And see it looking, I guess it's trying to gauge how deep it is, or if it can like cross over, and what have you. But they decide not to. So now we're at a standoff, and eventually Cara lands a shot inside of the cockpit, and I think it probably hit somebody, because you see it hits something important, because something blows up on the inside. And when that happens, it steps forward, falling into the pit, and once that happens, the Clatoonians look back and see that they've lost their tactical advantage and retreat back into the forest, and the day is won.
Yeah. Cares about that action.
Yeah. So she can fight, she can hold her own with a blaster. She's overall, I think she's a badass.
Yeah,
I would say for sure.
She's definitely on the squad.
Yeah, she's definitely tough. Definitely. Yeah, so then that pretty much is close to the end of the episode. We then have a conversation with the villagers after the victory. I feel like there may be a time jump there by like maybe a few days or so.
Maybe the following day.
Yeah.
Because it's daytime again. I think it's that following morning.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it is, because it seems to be everything's cleaned up. Like, and maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but it seems like all the barricades and everything, like all the defensive emplacements that they built for the attack seem to be gone. And the village seems to be returned back to normal. So I think it may be a few days afterwards. Not many, but you got the child playing with the kids. The Mandalorian is talking to Cara, and she asked him, like, so what happens if you take that helmet off? And he says, nothing really, I just can't put it back on. And she's like, so you mean tell me you could take it off right now, settle down with that big, beautiful widow, and have like a normal life and be done with it? Basically, and then she basically calls him crazy in so many words. I think he really thinks about it for a minute. It's like, yeah, that's a possibility. But he quickly realizes that this isn't the life for him. Like he's not.
Yeah.
He has no interest in living a normal life. But
He did intend to leave the child behind, though.
He did, and he has a conversation with the widow about staying, because she tries to convince him to stay and that the child can stay here, and he's like, yeah, it would be nice, but I can't, this is not for me. I can't stay here. But the child fits right in, so
yeah, it'd be a safe place for the child, so he thought.
Thought, and then all of a sudden we get a cut to a sniper's crosshair aimed right at the Mandalorian, and then
at the child, aimed at the child, right? Oh, I
no,
see.
Yeah. At first, it's aimed at the Mandalorian,
and
over. Then we pan to the child, and then we get a view of the sniper. And then all of a sudden we hear a shot, and the Mandalorian takes off. It's like, oh, hide the kids, and he runs, and then all of a sudden we see Cara Dune standing. Well, no, we see smoke rising from the sniper, and then he falls dead, and Cara Dune standing right behind him with a blaster to the back of his head.
Now, when you heard the shot, what did you think happened?
To be honest, I knew that the child wasn't dead.
That's all.
I knew it because I was like, bro, we 4 episodes in, they ain't killed that child. Like, ain't no way. I'm like, this is Disney. This is Disney. Thought, come on, bro.
My first thought was, oh, the child stopped the bullet with the Force. That was my first thought.
That never mind. That wasn't my first thought though, but I thought about that. I was like, something happened. He didn't get shot though. Like, I knew he didn't get shot. Like, I knew he was okay. But then, that would have been interesting. Like if you pulled like the Kylo Ren and froze it with the Force.
Yeah,
that would be cool. That would have been cool. That would have been wild though. Actually, I kind of would have liked that if they did that. Like he sensed it and then just froze the bullet, and like everybody in the village has been like, oh. Like,
yeah, they could have added a little style to it. One hand he freezes the bullet, the right hand he's still sipping the soup. like who over here playing games? Who over here?
Oh my god, that would be great. Oh Lord, only you know what? You know who gave us that? Taika Waititi.
Word.
Yeah, he would have gave us that.
And he directed which episode?
No, he did direct an episode, but he did I think he did 7.
I can't remember which one he did.
He did.
I think it was 7 because it was the one 7. With the mercenaries.
No. That was Dave Filoni. No, he wasn't. It might have been Taika. No. That was
I don't know. We can Google it.
No, it wasn't. That was that was the black dude.
Yeah.
Rick. Forget.
Man.
Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah.
That he directed that episode. Taika Waititi directed the episode with the 2 scout troopers on the speeder bikes, and they were having that banter. That was him. Yeah. Like he would have gave us the Baby Yoda Force sipping the soup episode. He would have did that. That would have been hilarious. And he also did Thor Ragnarok, which that's still my favorite Thor movie. That's my favorite one, and then the first one is my second favorite.
Ragnarok, that was entertaining. Even though I fell asleep through some of it.
Oh my god! I was barely entertained. Like
scene, I don't know if it was just I was tired that day, but I'm over 30, and it was like at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow, he said he's over 30, bro. LeBron James just won a championship at 35. You talking about?
Hey, that's the GOAT, though. Everybody can't be the GOAT, man. GOAT James.
he is one of the GOATs.
Shout out to LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers.
He's one of the GOATs. We're not getting into this. That's for another show.
Hey, man. Big GOAT James.
But anyways,
moving right along.
Yeah, so that basically wraps the episode. And they realize, you know what, as long as there's a bounty out on because the bounty's on the child, and now the bounty's too is on the Mandalorian. But of course, the child's going to fetch a higher bounty because the Empire is after him, or the Remnant.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got that, And so they're like, all right, we got to pack up and roll. So we're going to be nomadic for a while because clearly there's no place in the galaxy we can hide. And
Yeah,
then that
they're
ends the
like
episode.
refugees now, to a sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then so that rolls right into 6, where they're in space and they're getting
5.
attacked. Five,
Episode 5. Yeah, this is 4 and
yeah.
5. But yeah, but before we get into that, I want to talk about, because since this is a Gina Carano introduction episode, there have been some rumors floating about the rumor mill in the Star Wars verse about some potential shows that Disney's got in development at some stage.
What are they cooking?
So there are about, I would say 6 shows are rumored, and then I think 4 have been confirmed, which is the Bad Batch episode, the series, the seasons 3 and 4 of the Mandalorian, and Cassian Andor and Obi-Wan. Those have
These
all
are
been
all
confirmed.
live
Action minus the Bad Batch, yes. What's been rumored but is yet to be announced is a Cara Dune spinoff show that will begin filming. Well, we don't know when it'll begin filming, but sometime, probably sometime soon. I think they're ready to make that announcement sooner rather than later. We'll probably hear about it on December 10th, which is the Disney shareholder meeting. So they'll be announcing Disney's new digital streaming strategy, and how they plan to, focus more on streaming. And they'll probably be announcing a lot of shows that are coming to Disney Plus for Marvel and for Star Wars. But Kessel Run Transmissions today, like around 5 Eastern, they broke a scoop, which we hadn't heard before. And these guys, they're pretty good.
And who are these guys?
Kessel Run Transmissions. They are a YouTube channel. Corey and Noah. I think they broke I want to say the Bad Batch scoop before anybody did. Like, they had a lot of inside information on a good number of shows and things that were announced in the Star Wars universe over the past few months. So yeah, they've got a pretty good track record, and they broke a scoop today that the Cara Dune series would co-star Bo-Katan, which Bo-Katan is a legendary, at this point, Mandalorian who was introduced in the Clone Wars. And she also appears in Rebels. She, prior to Moff Gideon, she was the last person that we see in canon with the Darksaber. So, if this rumor is true, then I'm curious to see what time period they put this Cara Dune story, because it could technically be a prequel. It could happen before The Mandalorian, and it could be some time, a story told during the end of the war between the Empire and the Republic, while Cara Dune was a rebel shock trooper, which could be really interesting, because then that would be a full-out war story, or it could take place after the events of season 2. We don't know the time period as of yet.
But if it's before season 1, like a prequel for her story, it would make sense that some type of war is happening. Some type of
I would like to see that, like, in live action, the final years of the war between the New Republic and the Empire before its collapse at the Battle of Jakku. Telling that story in live action on Disney Plus would be a cool thing, because it's really a 5-year gap, right? Between Return of the Jedi and the Battle of Jakku, so there's 5 years. There's a lot of story that they can tell, and they can tell it from. You could tell a real, true, gritty war story from the perspective of Cara Dune as a shock trooper, and then maybe they introduce the character of Bo-Katan. Maybe she's still alive at this point. Like, we really don't know the fate of her character past Rebels. All I know is she was the last person that we see with the Darksaber, and the next person we see have it is Moff Gideon. And as this point, as far as this point in the story and in the lore, whoever wields the dark saber usually is killed the person who wielded it prior. Um, I think the one exception is Sabine, because she, and that's some spoilers. I won't get into that, but there are some Rebel spoilers that I could get into, and I won't get into those because some people may have not seen that. But she's a good character, and the reason why for me it's an interesting development. One, I like Bo-Katan as a character, and two, she is voiced. The actress who voices her is Katie Sackhoff. Are you familiar with who that is?
Mm-mm.
Have you seen Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah.
The early 2000s versions. She's it's not Star. I want to say Starscream. Starbuck. She's Starbuck.
Oh, okay.
That's the actress that voices the character in animation. So they could cast her as Bo-Katan and bring her just into the story. Like that would be dope because she's an incredible actress. Like she's very underrated. One of my favorite characters in the series, for sure. In the Battlestar Galactica show. So yeah, I mean, what are your, based on this introduction, and everyone in comments can reply as well, but like, what are your thoughts on a possible Cara Dune story series on Disney Plus, co-starring Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan? That would be a very interesting story, in my opinion.
That'd be a cool story. I'd like to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I don't think they'll. Go ahead.
Bo-Katan was a leader of the Mandalorians, right?
She basically became, not by title, but she would have been what we would have considered a Mandalore. The last scene we see her in the canon, and this is a plot spoiler, is the various tribes of Mandalore representatives. Well, I would say representatives of houses and tribes of Mandalore kneeling before her as she's holding the Darksaber up, pledging their allegiance to her, and she's going to lead a rebellion against the Empire. And this is like right before Episode 4 happens. Like, so this is maybe a year or so before Episode 4. Okay. And the next thing we know about the Mandalorians is that there was some purge, because the only thing we know is that from the TV show, and based on what the members of the conclave there on Navarro have stated, is that there was a purge of Mandalore, and there aren't that many Mandalorians remaining. So
maybe that's how they meet. Maybe Cara, her stormtrooper squad is, attacking Bo-Katan's group of people, and they
would be
cross paths that way.
Yeah, they would have to be they would be allies, because Bo-Katan would be leading a rebellion against the Empire. So for that reason alone, like Cara Dune, and they would be allies. Like maybe the rebellion sends the rebel shock trooper detachment that Cara Dune is a part of to aid the rebellion on Mandalore, where she meets Bo-Katan, and then we see this. That would be an interesting thing to see too. Like if the show takes place during the purge, but then at the same time, would that really be a Cara Dune story, or is that Bo-Katan story?
Yeah.
Either way, I would like to see that for sure. And I don't think they're going to announce this show prior to season 2 ending. I think we'll see the end of season 2, and then based on where things are left in the conclusion, will determine what's the future of the series. Because let's say we see Bo-Katan in season 2, and her and Cara team up like somewhere at the end, whatever that may be. And then they go off on some adventure. The Mandalorian and the child maybe go off on their own adventure. or maybe it's the child and Ahsoka or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe our heroes kind of sort of diverge, and then this leads to various spin-off shows about these characters, which that could also be interesting.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Callisto would definitely like to see that.
Same, Callisto.
Yeah, sharing your thoughts, interpretations. Yeah, man, appreciate you tuning in and joining us as always.
Yeah, working on our dissertation. You know.
Yeah, having those two, I agree. I think that combo, that tandem. Um,
Yeah.
I think Katie Sackhoff and Gina Carano acting together that's an interesting combo because Katie Sackhoff, in my opinion, is a better actress than Gina Carano is, and that will help on screen. Like I think because she talks about like how she, you know, she's coached a lot by the other actors on because she's not a trained actress, so like she's got to get used to, you know, to acting really, and like having a seasoned actress on the show as a co-star is going to help, even if, especially if she's going to be if Carano is going to be the one of the main or the main character in the series, like that veteran leadership is always going to help. Just make it easier for her and make her more comfortable on screen, especially if they have chemistry. Like I think that would be a really good show because like you know, a Mandalorian and Shock Trooper is a great combo, as we've seen in this episode. But yeah, that's the rumor floating around right now. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and what may come of season 2. But moving on, since we're getting up to an hour, we'll do what, hour and a half so that we can get this season episode 5. You good? You good on time?
Yeah, we are good on time.
Okay, yeah. So season 5. Oh, episode 5, chapter 5, the Gunslinger. So as I was saying at the beginning of the show, it opens up in space. The Mandalorian is being pursued by another single pilot fighter craft, and they're, you know, engaged. He's got the Mandalorian dead to rights almost. Mandalorian is trying his best to evade. He's having some difficulties. He's landing a few shots, and then he says this pursuing pilot, this bounty hunter, makes a remark that I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. And the Mandalorian basically does a dead stop, cuts engines, full reverse. The pilot flies past the Mandalorian, which he then adjusts. Now that he's now on the bounty hunter's tail, locks, you know, gets a target lock on him and tells him that's my line before delivering the killing blow. So that was cool. And I believe Dave Filoni directs this episode, and I want to say Bryce Dallas Howard directed the previous episode. I want to shout her out. But yeah, so I think that's how that opens. But the ship, the Razor Crest, is badly damaged, and he's got to dock, got to make port, got to get repairs. Can't continue like this. And we see a very familiar looking planet in a very familiar shot.
That's Tatooine.
It is Tatooine.
Yeah, and Filoni did direct, and he also wrote this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of episode 4 A New Hope references in this episode, especially with how the ship lands, because I believe we see the Razor Crest as it's approaching the planet. We see the surface of Tatooine, you know, below the horizon line, and His ship is making its as the Razor Crest is making its descent to the planet, which is very reminiscent of the opening scene of episode 4, where the blockade runner is being pursued by the Imperial Star Destroyer. Vader's Star Destroyer, the Devastator. And so we land on the Mos Eisley spaceport. Also, shout out from episode 1, and I mean not episode 1, but episode 4. And as a matter of fact, he passes. You remember in episode 4, the Obi-Wan, Luke, C-3PO, and R2-D2 are standing on the ridge overlooking the spaceport, and Obi-Wan says, "Mos Eisley, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." You don't remember this?
I do not, but that is a funny line.
Yeah. So anyway, as he's making his approach to Mos Eisley, he actually flies past that ridge that they were standing on.
Oh, that's cool.
And then he lands his ship, and then the next cool scene we get is the Cantina Scene, which is the same cantina that Obi-Wan and Luke venture into to find their pilot. Mm-hmm. Also a funny callback. The Cantina has now got some new ownership. It is now owned by droids, and if you remember from episode 4, there were no droids allowed droids, and now the whole cantina is full of droids. And I was like, that's hilarious. That's funny. But it's primarily vacant. There's nobody in there but droids. He walks up. Oh no, so I'm jumping ahead. He lands the Razor Crest in the spaceport, and he's confronted by a deck officer and mechanic. She's deck officer, mechanic. I'm pretty sure she's playing a lot of roles, because it doesn't seem, like I said, it doesn't seem to be a lot of people in Mos Eisley anymore. It's not as populated as it once was while it was under Hutt control. And we get the she's a very interesting character. And this is actually one time where we get a prequels reference, because she's got the pit droids from episode 1, The Phantom Menace, helping her as her crew hands to repair the ships. You remember those little like one-eyed droids that were like, she's got those with her. That was cool to see. Like, that's something about the sequel trilogy that kind of annoyed me, was that they completely ignored the prequels. Like, they act like they didn't happen. Like, no references. There were no planets from the prequels. There were no references to the prequels. It was like those 3 episodes didn't exist. But anyway, I digress from that point.
They did their best to leave all that behind.
Yeah, just straight up.
They just ignored
my childhood. Cool. See how you feel. I grew up on those things. But yeah. So it was cool to see those things brought back into the fold. See that was a good reference.
Yeah. Shout out to Dave Filoni for that.
Shout out to Dave, man. My man Dave. So they make an agreement to repair the ship. I don't think the Mandalorian has any credits, or he definitely doesn't have enough credits. And then he tells her, "I'll find credits. Just get my ship repaired," which is when he heads to the cantina. Talks to the bartender, tells it that he's looking for work. And to which the bartender replies that the guild doesn't operate here anymore, and he says, I'm not looking for guild work. I'm just anything that you got, I'll take it. And then the droid's
like, nah,
he's like, bro, you don't understand. he's like, bro, you don't understand. Like, I got nothing for you. Like, you landed here at the worst possible time. And then we hear a voice in the back, which is also sitting in the same booth that Han Solo was sitting in. So these references, I love this. Is part of the reason why I like the episode, just because of all the callbacks that are very subtle. To
Yeah,
episode 4.
that I would say that I didn't recognize that before you mentioned that just now.
Yeah,
But
see, this is why you got the
knowing
lore
that
guy
would
with
make
you.
yeah. Shout out to the little guy. Cool.
Yeah,
That
man.
makes those subtle callbacks. Yeah, that could make the episode more
Yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah. I would say go back and watch, at least just go back and watch the Tatooine um um scenes from episode 4, and then you'll see all of the callbacks to episode 4. You'll reflect on those in this episode. You'll remember. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. But yeah. So this bounty hunter, young kid
Or wannabe
who
bounty hunter.
wannabe, as we find out, um, something interesting. I think he sounds like Hayden Christensen, but he looks like that. What's my man who played the Green Goblin in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Oh, you talking about uh why can't I think of his name? I don't know why Dustin Hoffman came to my mind, but that is not Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Man. I just watched his movie, The Lighthouse. He was in.
No, it was
now.
he was not the Green Goblin. He became Green James Franco. He looks like James Franco, but he sounds like Hayden Christensen. Wow, interesting
Okay. I was
combination.
thinking when you say
William
Green
Dafoe,
Goblin,
William Dafoe played the Green Goblin, but he was James Franco played his son, and then after after Green Goblin dies, I think he takes the mantle.
Franco was Hobgoblin.
Yeah, he was Hobgoblin. Spoilers.
But yeah, he does. He did have a James Franco vibe to him. I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily like that person cast as that character. It didn't fit at all for me.
Oh yeah, I don't think he. Well, yeah.
I was like, what? I didn't believe it. And then they had the one hoop earring in. I was like, that's not doing it either.
Trying too hard.
Yeah, they tried to give him edge that he didn't have. I'm like,
but see, I think that for me, that was part of the character, because it's like he's a wannabe bounty hunter. Like he's pretending.
so
You know what I'm saying?
Intentional.
Yeah, like he's got all this like swagger and like, oh, I'm the baddest cat in the land, but he don't know jack. Like he don't know squat. Like he's just some like
a whole simp out here,
bro. What? And he's like some like upper middle class kid from the mid realm that is trying to become a bounty hunter all of a sudden for some reason. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's it. Cosplay, bro.
That's all, and that's what he's doing. He's cosplaying out here. He just came from Comic-Con. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna be a bounty hunter. Let me go out to Tatooine and get to collect this bounty. That's basically what he is. And so for me, it worked in that regard. But yeah, I think it was intentional. But I can see your because he wouldn't. I didn't like him from that regard either. But for me, I just felt like it was just an intentional thing that they did to play up the fact that he didn't know anything. He had no idea. He didn't know what he was talking about.
So then after he basically tells Mando that, like, look, you can help me on this bounty. She's got a high price on her head.
Mm-hmm.
And we go from there.
Yeah. And then he's like, it's like, have you ever heard the name Fennec Shan?
Hell no, we heard that name, boy.
He's like,
all right, see you, Kalisto.
He's like, yeah.
Peace.
All right. Yeah, thanks for joining, Kalisto. Appreciate you as always.
Yeah. Be well.
But yeah. So he's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Fennec Shan, she's got this huge bounty on her head. And Mandalorian is like, do you know who Fennec Shan is? He's like, nah, not really. He's like, yo, that's the Hutt's hitman. Like, that's why no one's touching her. Like, ain't nobody. She was taking out she was the baddest bounty hunter in the land. Like, that's why nobody's going after her. You'd be crazy to go after her. Because he also lies. He's like, oh yeah, man, I've been in the guild for a long time. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Mandalorian is like, yeah, bro, if you knew what you were doing, then you know who Fennec Shan is, and you would not have taken that bounty. So right then and there, and then he kind of humbles himself. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm just I just need to get into the guild, man. You can keep all the credits. Like you can, I just need to complete this bounty so that they accept me into the guild. He's like, yeah. Mandalorian's kind of like, all right, man, whatever, I'll do it. Meet me at my hangar, and bring 2 speeders. And then he asked for the Mandalorian. Then asked him for his the fob, and then he smashes it, breaks it.
Yeah.
The tracking fob. He smashes it against the wall, and it's like, yeah, I got it memorized. And I'm like, this dude, like this, I don't believe it. But he did. Apparently, he had it memorized. He knew the location was. So he goes back to they go back to the hangar. The young bounty hunter, Gunslinger, wannabe Gunslinger, brings in his has the 2 speeders. He tells the hangar, the chief mechanic at the hangar, that, all right, I got a job. I'm going to be able to pay you. Can you please get started on the repairs of the ship? She's like, all right, whatever. And then, he and the Mandalorian and the Gunslinger head off into the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's when the child, makes his presence known to the mechanic, and she finds him, and of course the charm kicks in, and she basically kind of sort of is enamored over it, and she asks the pit droids to bring it some food, and then she was like, I don't know, bring it something with bones in it. And I'm like, all right, none of these people know how to raise a child in Star Wars. We've established this, which, that's funny. So then we get into the desert, and I believe the next scene is the Mandalorian and this Gunslinger, young gun, are they're in the Dune Sea, overlooking a ridge. They think they come across some banthas.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the big furry creatures.
I thought they were the sand people.
No, they see the mounts often. Remember that, because they're
the ones they trade with.
Yeah, they see the banthas, and then they see a dead person, and then they're looking at it through the binoculars, and they're trying to figure out what happened. Whole time, I think the Mandalorian knew what went down. I think he knew that they were using the body as bait, the sand people, to attract people to come and investigate, and then they would ambush them. I think he knew it was a trap. And then he mentions that they can't cross because this is the sand people's land, the natives, and that they wouldn't let them cross without making a deal. And he's like, oh, screw those sand people, natives. And then Mandalorian goes, yeah, why don't you tell it to them yourself? And then the camera pans, and it's like, what, 3 of them?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. And then he gets scared, wets himself a little bit, looks like, probably.
Yeah, not in Kansas anymore, buddy.
Yeah, bro. He's like, yeah. And then he makes some comment about he doesn't have to make a deal with those savages or something crazy. And then the Mandalorian is like, well, sand people view think that y'all are trespassers or something. Like it's something referencing Native Americans, basically, like of how I want to say it's how they view Americans, basically. Like we're the intruding on their land, we're the trespassers, like they were here first. Yeah. So like you are the one, you got to respect them, like they don't have to respect you. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was cool. And then the Mandalorian makes a deal, and he speaks Tusken, which is cool. That whole scene to me felt like Knights of the Old Republic, the video game. Like, yeah, I don't know why, but it's like a very RPG style communication, like because the Tuskens said something, and then it was like the camera panned back to the Mandalorian, and then he made a reply in Tuscan. And they kept going back and forth. It was like the Mandalorian had like preset answers that all he had to do was like pick the right one, and then it would reply back. I don't know. That's just how it was shot. It made it feel like the KOTOR video game. But so they make a deal. He negotiates passage through their land for the binoculars that the guy has, and he's like, "Oh, but I spent like way too much money on them," and he's like, "Oh well, deal's done." Yeah. Tosses them. Then they head off into the Sand People's land, and then is this when the Mandalorian gets shot?
Almost. They come across the decoy of the whatever animal that was, and then a body hanging off the saddle foot of the animal, and it's got a tracking device.
It's got a fob. Yep. It's because he hears the fob, and then that's when he realizes it's a trap, and then he gets shot. Bow! Shot ricochets. Sniper hits him, and then he's knocked down. But he's undamaged. The Beskar holds up, and he mentions that to the Gunslinger, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, so what? You got hit from that distance. The Beskar held up, but I'm not wearing any Beskar." And Mandalorian's like, "Yeah, exactly." It's like, "All right, so what are we gonna do?" "Well, we gotta wait till nighttime. I got a plan." And so the nighttime comes, and they've got some decoys. They got like some flares, which they use as decoys, and so they're running like almost like an interference route. They're zigzagging and firing up flares at the right moment to distract the sniper on the ridge, to blind her so that she can't get a clean shot off, which works for a while. Then eventually she lands a shot on the Mandalorian, knocking him off his speeder, but buys the Gunslinger enough time to make it past outside of her range up to the ridge, where he's able to get behind her and tries to ambush her, but she picks up on it and blocks his counterattack, and they get into a fight. They go back and forth for a while, and then all of a sudden I think Fennec has the Gunslinger dead to rights, and then the Mandalorian shows back up with his blaster drawn, and that basically ends the fight. She puts her weapons down and surrenders. They bind her. I think the speeder gets blown up too on that shot. So they're down a speeder.
Yeah, she takes out the speeder.
Yeah, so they're down one transport, so they can't all get back. I think the guns. Go ahead.
I was saying that whole scene leading up to them catching her on the mountain, that was pretty cool. The tactic they used with flashing.
Yeah, that was a good strategy. That was a very smart maneuver, especially given how accurate she was. Also, a testament to the Mandalorian's expertise, because clearly he's been in similar situations in the past. He's learned, because I mean, that's not something you just gonna make up. Like you would have had to pick up on that. Someone either taught him that, or from experience, trial and error, he learned that himself, of how to deal with a sniper of that caliber. So they make an agreement. He and the Gunslinger, that the Mandalorian will head out to get one of the banthas that they left behind, and he will stay with Fennec Shan and until he gets back. which he agrees to initially, and then Fennec begins, as soon as the Mandalorian is gone, she begins to try to manipulate the young bounty hunter into letting her go by revealing that this Mandalorian probably isn't traveling alone. She heard that the guild has a bounty out on a Mandalorian that's also that broke guild code and is running with a fugitive, a child. Um, Now I don't remember. Maybe the gunslinger saw the child. Yeah, the gunslinger, because when the Mandalorian goes back to the hangar, the child and the mechanic. I think the mechanic is holding the child.
Yeah.
And
He
so,
sees. Yeah.
so yeah, he sees the child, but he doesn't. He doesn't connect the dots. And then when Fennec mentions it to her later in this episode, then he puts two and two together and realizes, yeah, she's right. And then I think he says something about like I could kill you now, collect the bounty on you, and then take the Mandalorian, and like I get all three bounties. Like, so why? Um, you basically you've dealt your hand and you lost basically. And I think at that point he shoots her.
Yeah, he shoots her down
Yeah,
while
and
she's
so
cuffed.
yeah, so and leaves her in the sand. And then takes off on the speeder back to the hangar. And the Mandalorian sometime later, arrives and sees that Fennec Shand is um appears to be dead. We don't really know, and I'll get into that later. Um, and so he puts two and two together real quick that he probably figured out who I was and the child. Or is Fennec Shand still breathing? Does she kind of tip him off as to what happens?
I can't remember.
I think she may have tipped him off to like. I think he asked her what happened, and then she kind of hints at what she told him, and then he heads back. That's when he heads back to the because he leaves her there. He doesn't take her with him, and he heads back to the hangar to save the child. Then we cut to the Mandalorian arriving at the hangar, and the gunslinger is holding the mechanic hostage, and I don't know, he's got the child in his hand and he's holding the mechanic hostage.
Yeah,
I believe. And then something happens. They create a distraction. Was that the child? Did the child use the force to do something to
that whole ending part is blurry to me. I can't remember. I forgot it.
I think so. There, someone creates a distraction long enough for the gunslinger to get distracted, lose his concentration. He takes his eyes off the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian slips behind, I think, some boxers or something. It comes up behind him and shoots him, and ends the hostage situation.
Yep.
And I believe the Mandalorian took the whatever credits that the guy had, and I believe he also took whatever credits that Fennec had on her, and it's enough to pay the mechanic for her work. And then they blast off and continue on their journey.
Now there's a thing online about episode 5 having a theory about whose boots.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna get into. Yeah, whose boots are that? Because we get a little almost a post, like a bonus scene of we hear some spurs, kind of like some cowboy spurs, and we see boots in the sand. And if we remember, we're on Tatooine here, and this is after Return of the Jedi, and these boots and the pants and everything are very similar, very reminiscent to a classic character from the original trilogy, and that character is Boba Fett.
Boba Fett,
who many fans believe, because in the EU he does climb out of the Starlight pit, and he's actually he becomes a major character in the Thrawn series, in the original Thrawn series, in helping to overthrow that regime and the remnant. So the fans have been clamoring for that to happen, and it
they
may
didn't really
be
like how he was killed in episode 6.
Yep. Yeah. And he is like the first, he's the first Mandalorian in Star Wars that we see. Like he's introduced in really the Christmas special, which airs before Empire Strikes Back, and it's an animated special. And that's the first time we see Boba Fett, and then the next time we see him is in Empire, where he's made famous.
What would be really dope is if this is Boba Fett in season 2 of The Mandalorian, that could be some direct Mando versus Mando battles. He could be like a main antagonist.
Yep. Possibly, but there's a caveat.
Oh.
In the book, Aftermath, which is canon, there's a character by the name of I blanked on his first name, but it's Cobb Vanth, who finds Boba Fett's armor and puts it on and becomes basically the sheriff of a place called Freetown, which is close to Mos Eisley, which would be probably close enough for him to make that journey to Fennec Shan. So the caveat is it may not be Boba Fett in the armor at that point in time, but we also know that Boba Fett, we don't know the fate of Boba Fett, because he doesn't find the armor in the Starlight pit. It's been discarded somewhere in Tatooine, and he finds it, or no, he's got it. He gets it from Jawas. So that implies that Boba Fett could possibly be alive. Like he may have climbed out the Starlight pit, and went undercover, sold his armor to the Jawas for some money, and is currently in hiding. Which, if the Mandalorian in season 2 at some point confronts this armor, this Beskar wearing person, whoever it may be, whether or not it's Boba Fett or Cobb Vanth, like it'll be an interesting confrontation for sure. Fans are anticipating it's Boba Fett, and the actor who played Jango Fett in the prequels has put The Mandalorian Season 2 on his official IMDb portfolio, in his actor's portfolio as a project that he's worked on. So, Boba Fett is a clone of Jango, so that actor who played Jango Fett could also play Boba Fett, because he would grow up to look just like Jango. So the rumor is that he is going to appear in the series, Boba Fett, in some form, but
that'd be nice to see.
He could also be playing the clone Rex as well.
Is that a guy from Bad Batch?
From the Clone Wars, Captain Rex from the Clone Wars. Anakin's second in command, because he is alive during this time period as well. So it could, and he could be playing both characters. He could be playing Rex and Boba Fett. So I don't know. There could be the potential is interesting. I'm curious to see how they handle it. And it seems to be, from the trailers, I would speculate that they go to Tatooine fairly early in this season. Because if I recall correctly, in how they marketed season one, there were like maybe one or two brief shots in the first trailer from the last episode, and that being the Mandalorian coming out of that place that they were held up in, and he shoots a stormtrooper in the back of the head, and then they return fire, and one of the bolts hits him like in the shoulder and bounces off, and he's just he's tanking his way through the town. I think that's the only scene from the last episode that we see in the trailers. So in the first season, and in the second season, we've seen quite a bit of Tatooine, and we've seen quite a bit of another location where there's some sort of arena, which looks really cool because that part of the trailer was really cool. Where he's in the fighting pit, like the MMA fighting arena looking place.
Yeah, that did look pretty tight.
Yeah, so that I would assume my money would be on that's fairly early in the season, like that's probably in the first half. I think we're going to get that in the first half. I think we'll be on Tatooine and in the water planet, which people are beginning to speculate that is Mon Cala.
The clone planet?
Nope, that's Camino. Mon Cala is where Admiral Akbar is from. That's the home planet of his species, and the Quarren. And what tipped people off to this is that on the ship that he is on, that's sailing across the ocean, there are like a whole bunch of Quarren on the ship. And so people are like, oh, water planet, Quarren, it's got to be Mon Cala. Because those are the two dominant sentient species, the Mon Calamari and the Quarren. Who fought a civil war in? Yeah, you already saw that in the Clone Wars. There's a civil war fought on the water world.
Yeah,
underwater. Yeah, between the Quarren and the Mon Cala.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, those were cool episodes to watch. That whole war was cool.
Yeah. Fight. Yeah, it was cool to see them bring in the Gungans too. I appreciated that. Like, I thought that was really cool. That was very smart ploy too. Them thinking quickly after they were captured if they needed to call in reinforcements to fight an underwater battle. I mean, as far as we know, the Gungans are definitely their best ally. That were capable of handling that excursion, and they proved that they could handle it. I think they handled the Gungans pretty well in the series, as far as their prowess as fighters. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this season 2, and that was we're what, an hour 28 in, so we made it an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks? Any last thoughts? Anything you want to say about that episode 5 before we get out of here?
I think I'm good. The Boba Fett theory is, I want to see that come to fruition.
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would, and I think they will. A lot of the people are speculating that Cobb Vanth is actually the person that's wearing the armor, and he ends up rescuing what's her name, Fennec Shand, and then he and the Mandalorian and maybe Fennec Shand somehow they get into a fight, and maybe that's when Boba Fett comes in and helps, and maybe he kills Cobb Vanth and takes his armor back, which would be a cool thing to see. And then maybe him and maybe the Mando and Boba team up. But there's also a rumored Boba Fett / Bounty Hunter series in development at Disney Plus and Lucasfilm as well. Well, for Disney Plus.
That'd be interesting. Another Mando show?
No, this is all bounty hunting. Like, this is Bounty Hunters Underworld type of show. So it would be following
what we thought the Mandalorian was.
What we originally thought the Mandalorian was going to be, that this show is actually what that is going to be. It's going to follow the criminal underworld of Star Wars, really. And Boba Fett would probably is rumored to be the main character in that.
Okay.
Which is why a lot of people are speculating that Boba Fett will somehow make an appearance in this season.
Maybe he shows up at that scene that looked like the battle arena.
Possibly, if that's on Tatooine. There's also a scene on Tatooine where the Mandalorian is on a speeder bike, and people superimpose the image and try to figure out what's on the speeder. But some people are speculating that they can see Boba Fett's jetpack and his helmet attached to the back of the speeder. It's really hard to tell whether or not that is what it is. Um, it's pretty obscure. I can put that in the Discord if I can find it. I believe the Den shared it, and it was going around like after the that trailer dropped for a little minute. So it'll be interesting to see that aspect of. Well, it'd be interesting to see how they introduce Boba Fett into the show. If that is the case, then I would assume that the Mandalorian killed Boba, or not killed Boba Fett, but killed Cobb Vanth, and is taking the armor back to Boba Fett. Like maybe they meet up on Tatooine or what have you. There's also people have been speculating that he is following Luke Skywalker, the trail that Luke Skywalker left behind. Like he's trying to find, because the mission that he's on now is to find the Jedi, and there are a few Jedi that we know that are running around. There's Luke Skywalker, there's Ahsoka Tano, there's Ezra Bridger, and someone today, I think in the Den, made a comment about maybe it's Cal Kestis. That would be interesting. Yeah. I would love for that to be the case, because once again, tying everything together so nicely. Like, we don't know the fate of Cal Kestis. Like, we know it's kind of unanswered. He's still alive at the end of the video game. So that would be interesting, because I think their reasoning behind it, I want to say it was Star Wars Santa. I want to say, maybe. I don't know. I have to look. It might have been who that was. But anyway, the idea was that only 2 people really have been to Ilum, and that would have been Cal Kestis, because people are speculating the snow planet from the trailer is Ilum. And then of course Ahsoka has been, because she would have been there many times. So they think that he's just trying to pick up the trail of any of the Jedi that are alive still.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the plot in the Cal Kestis story was the map of all the Force sensitive children, right?
Yeah, and he destroys that holocron.
The holocron, he destroys it.
Yeah, so. But that actually was not the only one. Jocasta Nu, which was she's the librarian from the prequels, the old lady. In a comic book series, she actually, because she survives Order 66, she makes it out of the temple, but later she goes back to retrieve the holocron with all the Force sensitive children. So apparently the Jedi had 2 copies of this holocron. She retrieves one, and before she can escape, she's confronted by the Grand Inquisitor. But it's not before, I think she gets the holocron to her droid, who gets it on her personal starship and takes off. And no, that's not what happens. That's not what happens. She's rebuilding the archives. So no, it just, never mind. She's rebuilt. She tries to get the list of Force sensitive children, but it's not there. She's trying to rebuild the temple archives on another planet, and I think she's got most of the data copied and sent to this planet in this location. But before she can escape with some artifact that she's trying to take back to this hidden location, she's confronted by the Grand Inquisitor. They have a long fight, and then Vader shows up and kills her, basically. But Luke, after Return of the Jedi, finds this hidden location, so he's got a lot of access to what was in the old archives of the Jedi Order and the Temple. So during this time period, Luke's traveling all over the galaxy looking for Jedi artifacts. So he's probably the hardest person to find, but probably more than likely who the Mandalorian is going to try to look for, because his legend is spreading across the galaxy at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's safe to say we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We definitely appreciate it. Support. We've got a
As always,
good conversation, fun, definitely a packed episode. Trying to squeeze two episodes into one, but I think we did a pretty good job. Make sure you tune in Saturday to the cookout. This is episode 15. This is for the month of October. We're doing horror specials, so all the community discussions will be horror related. So make sure you come and join us for that at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a longer community discussion this week because we didn't get to our community discussion last week because we had a lot of topics to cover in our short time period. And so we'll double up this week on the community hour, probably be like an hour and a half. So yeah, look forward for that. We'll send that out probably tomorrow or Saturday morning. Or well, you know what? It's Wednesday, so yeah, Friday we'll send a final list.
We'll send out.
Yeah, send a notification about what the topics are and all of that. So be on the lookout for that. And Monday we're going to change the Aftercraft show. So for the season finale of Aftercraft, we're actually going to do this on Monday night. We're aiming for 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, since the final season finale episode is going to be longer. We'll move the show to Monday and do a live stream that night, and be a long discussion. I'm sure we'll be breaking everything down. Going to try to get the full team on. But yeah, so if you watch Craft Country, make sure you tune into that Monday night. We will be doing our review of the finale and the full season on Monday night. Hope to see you all there. Coop and JBM here signing out. As I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you always.